Hey everybody, welcome back to the Kit Cave. I hope everybody is doing absolutely fabulous. Back with you again, another update for the current build on the good old AMT ERTLS Enterprise 1/1400 scale D. As always, big thank you to everybody for the comments, the likes, and the subscriptions. And the subscribing, I should say, not subscriptions. Nobody's actually paying me any money, sadly. But there we are. Yeah, big shout out to everybody for that. As always, I really appreciate all of the thumbs up and the likes and even the comments, and I do try to reply to each and every one as best as I can. Before I jump in then as to what I've been up to over the last few days, just want to give a bit of a shout out, a bit of a special thank you to a particular YouTuber who goes by the name of P. Taylor. And it was something based on my last video when I was going through the concept of what to do with regards to the lifeboat hatches, whether I was going down the decal route or that very, very insane idea of the little resin cast pieces from a template I made up. I got to be honest, I am kind of still on the fence. I'm kind of which way am I going to go with it? I'm kind of erring more on the side of it's probably just going to end up being decals put onto this kit, just to save my own sanity. But I want to give a big shout out to P. Taylor because he very, very kindly sent me over a decal sheet that he'd created of those lifeboat hatches. Good decals, good images. So big shout out for him for that one. So a big thank you. That's going to make life a hell of a lot easier. I have noticed that here in the UK now you can purchase the new release of this kit from round 2 in the white translucent plastic. Severn View Hobbies here in the UK currently has it in stock, retailing for £59.95. Now, I've said on previous videos I'm not going to be buying that kit. I'm not going to be buying that kit because the only reason I would buy that kit is purely for the decal sheet that comes with it, and I'm not spending £60 just purely on decals when the actual rest of the kit I'm never going to use potentially. I mean, maybe I might change my mind in the future and purchase it and maybe do a modification to that kit. I don't know, make it into a Nebula class starship. I don't know. But anyway, there we go. So very big shout out for P. Taylor for sending those decals over. It's very, very much appreciated for that. So what have I been up to then? Enough rambling. What have I been up to? Well, let me show you what I've been up to before I start going into it. Let me show you. So I'm just going to get some things plugged in. I'm just plugging in some power into my Arduino board here, and it starts to play up sound. Switch the power on. This is what I've been working on over the last week or so. Here we go. Oh yeah. Got the phaser strip sorted out. Now it's not fixed in permanently yet. How cool is that? I'll tell you what, I love this. I literally could sit here and just play with this for absolutely hours. Look at that, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to stop playing with it in a second. But how cool is that? That is such a cool effect. Especially I like the bit with the code here where it locks on and then does this chasing round of a target once it's locked onto it. That's so cool. There we go. That's primarily what I've been working on. I'm going to flip the model over in a minute. I'll disconnect all the wiring. It is roughly wired up to the Arduino board, and I'll just like to explain how I did that, how I put this strip together. I know that some other people that have done this in the past, they've used, of course, the adjustable LEDs, the 50/50 strip, and they've run into problems with it. They've had issues. Certainly with the soldering side of it. I've got to be honest, I didn't run into those issues because I approached it in a slightly different manner, and I'd just like to go through that process in a second. Another thing that I experimented with, quite literally about 5 minutes before I started filming the video, I rigged up. Going back to my last post, is that I purchased some of those capacitive touch sensor switches. Again, because I'm forward planning at this point as to when I get this build done, what's the base going to be, and I would love to have it as a Lacars setup type of base. And I've been watching lots of YouTube videos. I mean, there's one chap, and he's taken the that huge enterprise model that that I can't remember the name of it. Who did it? Was it Diagostini or Eagle Moss, whoever it was who produced it? And he's produced his own little app that he made an app of a Lacars interface on his phone. He's got it hooked up to a Wi-Fi connections for our Arduino board, and it's all done through. And that's just so cool, so cool. That's way beyond my skill level at this particular current time. But it's something I am looking into. But what I literally did was, just going to move the camera a second. There we go, on the board. You can see it powered up. About 5 minutes ago, I had my switch already pre-wired this week, touch switch. I've just rigged it in, put it into position whereby the usual toggle switch should have been, just to see if it would actually work. And I wasn't sure whether I needed to do any additional programming to the code. This is rigged up to the photon torpedoes. And no, I don't need to change the code at all. There you go. I'm not even touching it. I'm just putting my finger close to it. So that is awesome. Little capacitive touch sensor switches. Fantastic. Again, what was that? £2.85 for a pack of 10 on eBay. Absolutely fantastic. Well worth the money. So I will be finding a use for those definitely with this build. Let's go back to the phaser firing effect again then, because it's just so cool. Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Get it over. Now, using the recast clear phaser strips here, you can see the LEDs through it. But again, this is going to be painted up. It's going to have a light spraying over of color once I get to the painting side of this. So hopefully that you won't see those. But yeah, look at that. A little bit hot spotty, but not too bad. But overall, pretty bloody good. Really chuffed with that. Really chuffed with it. There we go. So how did I do this? How did I do it? Well, let me just unplug everything. Let me just switch all the power off here. That'll make me careful I don't end up shorting anything out. It would be a very, very big shame. So yeah, it wasn't as bad a process as I was anticipating it to be. Let me just disconnect all the wiring here so I can flip the kit over. As I mentioned, I know that some other people in the past, when they've tried to do this using this adjustable strip, they've run into some issues with it. They find it, a bit of a tricky thing to do. I got to be honest, I didn't. To be fair, and this is what I've done. So you can see it's in place. It's not permanently fixed in. These wires are going to eventually be coming off because they're all attached to the front, and I'm going to be desoldering these and attaching it to the back here. But here we go. This is what we're kind of seeing. So how I approached this was, rather than, well, initially I did, to be fair. Initially I did approach this by looking at, cutting up. This is the spare length that I've got. You can see there's a bit that's cut off there. And again, this can be utilized for another project. This is just a completely big spare length. A lot of people might approach this in the manner of, first of all, creating a little bit of using, I don't know, backing card or plastic, creating this ring going around here, something that you can physically then attach the LEDs to once you cut them up. And I believe where people may have run into the issue, or they found it really time consuming and difficult, is doing that process, is by creating a ring here of plastic, cutting the strips up, laying them into position, tacking them down, and then I believe the issue is then trying to, sorry, I'll try and get this onto camera. I believe then the issue that they may have run into is when you're trying to then resolder all these little connectors. And again, there's a tiny little connector here. Once this is chopped through down the middle, it's literally a tiny bit of copper showing right in the middle of two LEDs, and that's going to be really tricky to try and get a soldering iron in there and bridge that connection. And I think that's some of the issues that people have had. So as you can see, I approached it in a different manner. What I decided to do was same thing, cut up the strips. This is 4 LEDs here at the beginning. Then it goes to blocks of 3 LEDs as we go round. And I decided to situate these directly onto the model. The good thing is, with this middle channel, the data line that goes in, I was lining that up with the center of the strip here and following that profile all the way around. As you can see, tacking it down with a bit of tape as I went. This needs cleaning up because of all the soldering and the flux that I've been using. Once I had it all in position, well, before I actually did that, what I did is I wanted access to these copper pads at the back. Now, of course, on the tape itself, on the back of the tape, once you take this off, there's contact adhesive tape. There's sticky tape on the back of it, of course, because that's what it's designed to do. You peel this off, stick it down on the back like this. So what I did was I peeled that sticky tape that's on the back of this bit. Sorry, I'll try to get this on camera. I'm pointing at things, it's not a camera. I peeled the sticky tape off the back of each and every bit of the strip before I put it into position. By taking off that adhesive tape on the back, it gave me access to these copper terminals, to these copper pads. Got it all laid in, and then just systematically went round, as we can see here, soldered in all the connections all the way around. How long did that take? Well, it actually took longer, believe it or not, it took longer to try and peel the adhesive tape off the back than it actually did to solder all these connections, because that tape is on there quite solid, and for good reason. Of course, it needs to be. So it actually took longer to do that. It took longer to take the tape off, get it into position, tack them all down when I was happy, then soldering it. And I think that doing it in that process, it made it easier. I mean, it literally took me roughly, I would say, about an hour just to go through and solder all these connectors in. It really didn't take that long at all once everything was in position. And then there we go. You see the effect. It worked, and it worked first time. Did I have any issues with any of these? No, I didn't, because I had direct access straight to the back. Bop, 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 all the way around and through. So yeah, so well worth experimenting and doing it in that manner. What that means is then from this bit, this can now be taken off carefully. All these connectors, I will probably get resined. I'll put resin on the back of here to make them nice and strong, nice and secure. This can then be taken off. I can clean up the back of the kit here, because the next process is to now start spraying over, light blocking, bit of reflective spray paint on the underside, so I can then start working on getting all the other little lights and bits and pieces and electronics installed into the back. So yeah, this will be taken off. I'll get this taped down to a piece of board to keep it nice and secure. It shouldn't be that flexible now with these connectors. They're actually on there. They're solid. They're strong. Job's a good one. Yeah, so if anybody is thinking about using this addressable LED strip, the 50/50, I would recommend doing it in this fashion. Take the sticky tape off the back, lay them in position. Obviously, be careful of the plastic when you're soldering, that you don't melt anything or catch anything. And attach them. Use the copper pads on the back. Far simpler, far quicker, far easier than trying to tackle the tape from the front. And it worked. But there we go. So that's pretty much what I've been messing around with over the last week with what little time I've had to work on the kit. Something else I have done as well after my last video was, as you can see, I've gone around the whole kit and I've sanded off all of the lifeboat hatches. All the raised lifeboat hatches are now gone. They're all sanded off, ready for me to make the decision. Is it going to be the decals or a combination of the resin bits plus decals, or whatever the case may be? I did also go in and just did a little bit more putty work around the arboreta windows. I wasn't happy with the putty work how it was showing on camera last time, so I went in and tidied that up, cleaned that up, a bit more putty work, a bit more sand in to get that a little bit better. I've got one little line to scribe down there, which I'll do in just a second. and then it's ready to go. And that's it. That's where we are. All ready for the spraying up of the internals and the rest of the lights going in. I'll probably start with the little tiny lights, the little spotlights that go into position, the navigation and the strobe lights. I'll be using the really, I like to use really tiny small surface mount LEDs with those. They're a little bit fiddly, a little bit tricky to try and get wired up, but I will do some filming on that in just a second to show you the process as to how I hold those tiny little surface mount LEDs to get them wired up. Got a little bit of trick that I use, so I'll share that as well. And then it's just onward to getting the lighting installed into this, job done, and then I can move on to the bottom section of the saucer and start working on that. On that basis, with the bottom section, there was another comment. Another user left a comment, and again, thank you for that comment. I'll try to find that comment and who the user was to let everybody know. But he suggested that I do this same thing, light up, do the phaser firing effect on the bottom section. Now, my original intention was never to do that. Because of that suggestion and seeing this in place, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to do this on the bottom side as well. Again, a bit more programming into the Arduino code. And there's a lot more programming that I want to do to the Arduino. There's some more stuff I want to add into this code to get it, later on as we go through. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, let's do this on the bottom as well. Why not? Let's go the whole hog. Why just have the top? Let's do it on the bottom section. That'd be awesome. And then I'm kind of toying with the idea. Obviously, you can press the buttons and you get the top firing, the bottom will fire, and then even maybe programming in the code whereby you press one button and it simulates the top and the bottom and the torpedoes firing all at the same time. So it's kind of like in a battle battle situation. I think that would be a pretty cool effect. But there we go, everybody. Right, I'll stop rattling on. I'll crack on with the rest of it now. Get this out, get this cleaned up, get it sprayed over, and then I'm going to start working on just basically basic solder work just to get my LEDs all wired up, and so that I can then start to position them into place as we go. And I'll be back with you very soon to show you the process of how I hold on to those tiny little LEDs, those SMDs, to get them wired up. So I'll be back in a little while. See you in a bit, everybody. Hey everyone, so back again. So what I'd just like to show in this little segment of the video is how I go about holding LEDs for installation into this kit. So as mentioned previously, what I like to use for the most part, not exclusively, but in certain situations in model kits, because space can be quite a premium within these kits, I try to utilize as much as I can SMDs, or surface mount diodes, purely for the space saving aspect of them. And all that I'd like to demonstrate is the process that I've discovered of how to hold these little tiny LEDs to be able to get them wired up. So what I'm going to be using for this demonstration, I've already got some pre-wired. I've already gone ahead and pre-wired some. I'll try to get this on camera. You know, really tiny little things right here. I forget which color this is. This is either white, red, or green, but this is for installation into the top saucer section for the navigation and strobe flashing lighting effects. Whether that's the right term, the strobe lighting or navigation lighting, that's just what I've lovingly come to call them. So what I'm going to be using is, in this demonstration, it's going to be blue. These are the designation number of these SMDs, or the 1206 SMDs. Pack of blue. As you can see here, this is where I source my LEDs for the most part from Bright Components here in the UK. Little strips like this, a strip of 10 costs £1, very inexpensive, but they are very small, very tricky to hold. I've already got some wire pre-tinned, ready to go. This is magnet wire, very thin stuff, or pencil wire. I've run out of the green stuff. I'll use this for the negative lead, and the red to denote the positive. I've got plenty left on the reel of the red here, loads of it. I've run out of the green, but I have placed an order for some more reels to come. So yeah, crack on with it. How do I wire these up? Well, the blue LEDs here, these are going to be installed, or I'm going to wire up one of them to install for the Arboretum windows. Now, doing the resistance calculator using a simple LED resistor calculator online, because this is going to be a direct supply. 9 volts is the supply voltage I like to use in all my kits. It's a nice safe voltage. To power all the wide classes, the main lighting, and again 9 volts will power an Arduino board as well once I get that finalized towards the end of the build and installed. So the calculator, as recommended, that I use a resistor of 270 ohms for this, for a 9 volt power supply, being a blue LED with a forward voltage, I think it's what they call a forward voltage drop, or whatever the drop is, of 3.2 or 3.4 whatever volts, milliamps, whatever, I often forget. However, what I'm going to be experimenting with, rather than using, that's what's ideally needs to be installed, 270 ohm resistor, I'm going to double that up and go for a 560 ohm resistor. The reason being is these are going to be installed for the Arboretum windows at the back of the saucer section. Now, if I were to put the 270 on, yeah, it's going to be safe. I could rig up the 9 volt power supply to them, and it's going to be a very, very bright LED, and I don't want it to be super, super bright. You've got to remember, I'm trying to replicate here what we see on screen, and it doesn't need to be that bright, a bright blue. It just needs to be a very, very, needs to light up enough to be able to see it, but a nice dull blue to replicate the light source coming from inside the ship out through those Arboretum windows. So I'll experiment, see how dim it is or how bright it is, and go from there. But let's get it wired up first. So, out of the packet. Now what I use for these, because they are very, very fiddly little things, as you can see here in the background, I've got a set of helping hands. Always comes in handy. A lot of modelers will have these, of course. Very, very useful things, and probably even, like me, have multiple sets of these. But what I use to hold these things is a combination of the helping hands here and a pair of tweezers. Now these are clasp tweezers. They're closed as they are. Obviously you apply pressure to open them and then they automatically clasp. And this is essentially going to get rigged up into here to hold this. So let's get this out. I'll try to do this as best I can on camera. Now, apologies for anybody that's experienced with electronics and I'm kind of waffling on and explaining things you already know, but this more so is for people that are new to the hobby, new to electronics, probably never having or may have not ever used SMDs before and thinking, well, these are really small, really hard to wire up. They're fiddly. They're not hard, they're just fiddly. So I've just got one out on my finger here. Again, apologies for this. If I can just get this on camera and we can see it here. So what we're looking at is the back of the LED. There we go. And there's the front. So we need to know, of course, which side is which, to denote which side is the cathode, which side is the anode, meaning the positive and negative. So you can see, just about make it out on here. Looking at the front, you've got that little green marker on the right hand side. That's denoting, that's the cathode side. So that's where you'll have your negative supply coming from, or your negative lead. If we flip it over onto the back, again it's indicated with a marker here. It's got a little T diagram. This is meant to be indicating, where's my little pointing device? Here it is. Apologies for this. It's really tricky to get these in focus and on camera. Come on, focus. It's not going to do it now, is it? There we go. What this is essentially denoting, if you imagine this is forming a triangle and it's pointing as an arrow in this direction towards the right, so it's therefore denoting that this side, right here on the right hand side, that's your negative, that's your cathode. Let me just double check if I flip it back over. Yes, it is. So we need to get that the right way around. So let's get this in. So here comes the little tweezers. And again, so small. I'll try to get this on camera as best I can. So I've got it on the end of my finger. I'm simply just going to open them up best I can and get this thing in. It's very, very fiddly, this bit. This is what's the tricky bit. And just let it clasp. And I've let it clasp like that again. So it's in there. Doesn't have to be dead centered. I will move it down a little bit, just get it a little bit more in a better position. There we go. So that's there. That's now clasped. What I like to do with these is I like to solder from the back. I'm going to flip it over, soldering from the back, because you get more pad. Again, trying to get this on camera, you can just about make out there's more of the terminal pad there to be able to hold the wire and solder onto. So that means so the cathode side, negative is at the top, flip it over, it's going to be at the bottom. So that's what I need to remember. Now I'm going to wire it up. So red wire at the top, green wire down at the bottom. Into my helping hands this is going to go. Kind of just hold it like that. Again, apologies, I'll try to get this on camera. There we go. Right, let's get me wire in. Let's get me wire sorted. Let's go for the negative lead first. Get my soldering iron cleaned off a bit. Ow, that's hot, and it should be. Be careful as well. Good safety advice for anybody that's new to the hobby. If you're learning soldering for the first time, be bloody careful. These things get extremely hot. So first of all, I'm just going to do the, no, I'm not going to do that. I was just about to prime, but before that, I'm just going to put a little bit of flux. Flux is always good to use on your wiring, on your LEDs, just to help the solder to flow and adhere and clean all at the same time. So a little tiny bit there, a little tiny bit on there. I need to go nuts with it. That's it, that's fine. Wipe that off onto my cleaning sponge. I can use that. So let's get this primed then. Bit of solder onto the iron. Here we go. And this is where it gets very tricky. Certainly trying to do this on a camera. On the other side, sometimes I have often used a pair of magnifying lenses to do this. Don't be too alarmed about the smoke. That's just the flux activating, doing its job. Little touch there. There we go. That's tinned. That's good. Quick clean off. Now onto the wire itself. Again, be careful with this. This pencil wire, if you hold it too close in your hand, it does tend to get extremely hot. Very tricky, these little things. As I said, they're not difficult, they're just tricky with holding everything and being careful. So let's get this one attached here. Little gentle touch. Nope, that's not going to go. Probably because I need some more solder on the end of my iron here. Yes, I do. And I've just tapped that wire down, and it's so thin, so small, it's just disappeared on me. So that's not a very good demonstration, is it? Okay, let's get the cathode in. Let's get the cathode one attached. Go, that one's attached. Where did that tiny little bit of wire go? There it is on the floor. Pick it up. Do that again. Oh, a little bit more solder on the tip there. Now for the anode, the positive connection. And this is where it gets really tricky because I'm trying to do this round with the camera. You can see why it's always good to, if you can, buy these pre-wired. But the problem with the pre-wired stuff is that the wires tend to be quite thick. And when you're trying to use these for space saving, so thin wires, tiny little LED, come on, attached, there we go. That's on, that's attached. Excellent. Just clean my solder off, get that off, switch it off for safety. And there we go, everybody. Sorry I couldn't get that in focus, but that just demonstrates it there. So let's get this rigged up to power then. Let's get these leads attached. Again, apologies while I fart around here off camera. There's my power supply. This is where I'm now going to do the experimentation before I fix the resistors permanently. Before I solder those on, I'm just going to be doing the experimentation now as to the brightness of them. Oh, come on. There we go. So let's attach my negative first. That's it. So get this one attached. What I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take it out of here. I'm just going to clasp this, flip it around so we can see it. I'm just going to clasp this into the helping hands directly so we can see the... Oh, come on. Apologies everybody, I'm faffing about here. I've got to... Let's move this out of the way so we can see it on camera is what I'm trying to get to. Right. Getting there. Getting there. A lot easier to do this when you're not filming, it must be said. But there we go. So let's try with the 270 ohm resistor first, connecting that onto the positive supply. So I'm just going to clamp the resistor itself into my positive power terminal here. Then off camera, I'm just going to turn the power on, touch these two wires together. There we go. That's lighting up. That's nice. Okay, it's bright, quite bright. So let's try now the 560 ohm resistor. Let's see how much dimmer that's going to be. And that's the concept. The higher the resistance, the dimmer the light will be. Like I said, I don't want this to be super, super bright because it's just the Arboretum windows. So this is now the 560 ohm resistor. It's tricky to pick this up on camera because cameras do often wash the LEDs out, but that is dimmer. It is dimmer, but it is still lighting up. It's still bright, but not as bright. So that's okay. That's looking not too bad. So let's try this actually then with the kit. Again, apologies for this. Get this somehow. I have no idea how I'm going to hold all this, but I don't know. Let's kind of try it like this. There's something out of the way here in the background. I don't know. Let's just kind of plonk that on there like that. That's looking okay. Let's try that again. See what's going to... Probably not going to work. Okay, that's not too bad actually. Might need two potentially. I mean, these it's a little bit far away. Let's move this up a little bit, get it closer. Yeah, okay. Do I want one or do I want two rigged up maybe? I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Maybe I will go back to the original 270 ohm resistor. So let me just rig that one up. So this is now again the 270 ohm resistor. A bit brighter. Have a look. Yeah, it's looking okay. Not too bad. Yeah, a little bit more experimentation there before I get this fully installed into the kit itself. I have got this kind of just very, very loosely rigged up. What I am thinking about doing is building a little bit of a light box, very tiny little light box that's going to sit over here with the LED, with the light box itself, just to cover these windows up on the back side. To stop any light bleeding from the main white lights that are going to get installed. And I'll put some reflective. I've got some aluminium foil tape, which I'll do a little reflective tape. Maybe that'll be enough to bounce the light around in a tiny little box inside to light it up blue. But yeah, okay. Or it may be that it's going to take two of these little LEDs. But again, as I said, I don't want them to be super, super bright. I don't know, maybe the original 270 ohm resistor might be enough. Would be helpful if I can get it in a little bit of a better position. You can see it there on that right hand side. It's quite bright. Go back to the 560. A little bit dimmer. Again, the camera is washing it out quite a bit, but it is dimmer. In actual fact, I prefer that. I prefer the 560 ohm resistor. There, it's not quite as bright that we're seeing. And again, it might take two of these blue LEDs, but I'll experiment with that. I'll get a little light box built first, and I'll experiment to see what's going to be the better option with that. But there we go, everybody. Little quick demonstration there of how I hold these tiny little SMDs. They are fiddly. They're not difficult. They're not difficult to solder. They're just tiny and difficult things. Or contradicting myself there. They're not difficult. They're just tiny and fiddly. And so the trick is finding a way to hold them. And there we go. And there they are, ready to be utilised and installed. And there we go. Right, I shall crack on with all the internal lighting for the upper saucer section and be back once I've got all of that rigged up and in. See you in a bit. Okay, so back again with an update. So working on installing the electronics inside, the lighting, as we can see here, very loosely rigged up. It's not completely finished yet. I've still got a little bit more to do. Apologies for having to hold the camera. As I mentioned, my camera stand broke the other day, so I'm having to hold the camera to film this. But we can see here, I just rigged it up to the Arduino board. What we've got here flashing is what I refer to as the strobe lights, the lights that are on the edges of the saucer. So the green one there, the white one connected to a 0.5mm fibre optic strand coming out there, with the red one over here coming through, nice and bright. I've got more, another SMD rigged up here. You can just make it out with another 0.5mm fibre optic strand coming out through. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Been a bit fiddly, lots to do. Still got a bit more to do. The phaser strip is now fully in and secured, for which I may need to do some light blocking on the back of it a little bit later on, depending on how badly the light bleed's going to come through from the white lighting that needs to be installed. Let me just switch off the power here, flip this over so we can see what's going on. I've got the Arboretum window SMDs rigged up as well. They're ready to be installed. What I'm going to be doing with those ones is I'm going to install them directly onto the back of the clear resin piece, which is at the back here, right over where we've got the square pad here, and just let the blue ambient light wash through. I've already experimented with this off camera. It looks quite good, to be fair. It actually looks pretty decent. I decided to up the resistor value for those blue LEDs as well for the Arboretum windows. Rather than using the 560 ohm resistor, I've gone up to a 1200 kilo ohm resistor, again just to get the light down a little bit more. I'm not going to build a little box for it just yet. I'm going to see how much of the white light bleeds through and washes out the blue light before I then cover it over. May not even need a box, maybe just a bit of tape, bit of glue tape into the back there to light block. That is all that's going to need. But yeah, still a bit more lighting to go with this one, everybody. So we can see what's going on here. It's all in, or not all in, but lots going on. Starting to get messy with the wiring, so I need to go through and start tidying up all of this a little bit more. With the SMDs being resined into place, light blocked over using just basic Humbrol enamel paint, matte black, does the job absolutely fine. You can see here the fibre optic strand coming away from this one. The reason I haven't mounted this SMD directly over the hole on the bridge here is, of course, you'll see the light flashing from the exterior view. Hence mounting it back here, and then with a 90-degree bend going down through, and it'll stop this showing the flashing. Same up here, where we've got the 10 forward windows. This SMD is mounted back with a fibre optic strand running through, recessed in, and that's so we can't see the flashing through the window, but it again allows the light to pass through, the ambient light to go through and light those windows up. So it's coming on, it's coming on. So all that's really left to do then for this top piece, apart from tidying up these wires and get these SMDs secured in here, is going to be a couple of little strips of white LEDs going in here. I'll probably just do two each side. That's facing this way. This is going to light up the windows on the bottom half of the saucer section, or the bottom middle part. It won't light up all of them. And then I think I'm going to stop there. There's going to be more lighting that needs to go in, but I need to start figuring this out a little bit now.
what I'm kind of thinking and experimenting with is to be able to get all these rim windows lit up on the top and on the bottom. You can kind of see it there. I was experimenting just before filming the video. I've kind of just very loosely rigged in a strip of white LEDs going around the periphery here. The idea being, well, for two reasons. To see what it would look like, the light shining out this way to light up these windows on the bottom section, and also lighting up the top at the same time. So killing two birds with one stone. Also, having it mounted this way and closing the two pieces together, I wanted to see if they would actually fit together, and not having this being impeding the, sorry, I'm trying to do this off camera, apologies. This strip mounted this way, not impeding the sections when it closed together, which, to be fair, I don't think it is going to, it isn't going to. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's a bit up here. This needs to be sorted out as well, and this is what I need to start thinking about before I just plow on installing anymore. I've got to start thinking about, okay, where am I cutting here? I need to cut a bit here. As you can see, these little windows are so close, they're going to be touching, so this section needs to be cut out. But then I'm thinking, okay, where do I cut? Just here to allow the wires, all these wires to feed through, but also thinking about a rig, an armature that needs to go inside. Where am I going to start connecting that to make sure that I've got a big sturdy armature going up through the model to keep all of these pieces together, so that eventually when they all get stuck together and all resin is glued into place, they're not just going to pop off. I need to start thinking about this before I plow on with anything else at this stage. Certainly with the lighting now, at this point, I will get these bits in here so they'll light up this section. When I come to do the bottom section, there'll be LEDs mounted in the bottom here to shine up, and then I need to make a decision about what I'm going to do with this. I'm probably going to go through in this fashion, run a ring round, but I'm not going to do that just yet because I need to get the second phaser strip installed here in the bottom before I do that, before I put these in to light up these windows. Yeah, so it's getting busy, everybody. Getting very busy, getting finicky and tricky. All the wires going in now, and me scratching my head and thinking, right, what's got to be connected where, what gets connected, how do I cut down the amount of wires, what's going to connect and run through, armature, where's that going to be fixed, how is it going to be fixed, lots of scratching of head and figuring things out. What I'm probably thinking, potentially having the armature coming up through the neck this way, coming into this part if possible, depending on space, and then having it mounted on a bit of a plate here just so it's secured. I don't know. This is what I need to figure out before I just carry on plowing through anything else. But for the top saucer section then, all I'm really going to do, everybody, is I'm just going to now get these 4 strips, only about 3 LEDs a piece, just mounted in here, get them wired up, sort this wiring out, get this tidied up, install the Arboretum LEDs into here. As I mentioned, I've already got these wired. Here they are, all ready to go with a resistor for the 9-volt supply, and I'm literally just going to mount it over the back there, resin them in just there, job done. And then I think for the top section I'm going to stop. I'm not going to install any more lighting. I'm not going to run a light ring round here. I'm not going to light block this just yet, because I think what I need to then start beginning to do is the bottom section. I need to work on this, get this ready for the installation of the lighting, and start getting the lighting in here, and then I can start figuring out, right, the rest of the lighting to light up all these windows. How's that going to work? In what manner am I going to do it? Am I going to do it this way, or am I going to do something else with it? Figure out another way, but also figuring out, of course, where this big bulb bit here, how is this factoring into this space just here, and so on and so on and so on it goes. But there we go. So a little bit more to do on this one, everybody. Then I think I'm going to make a start on the bottom section. get this one sorted out, and then I can come back to installing more of this lighting for both the top and bottom sections. Yeah, have a go like that. Have a go like that. But there we go. Apologies for the waffling, everybody. Again, thank you to everybody for the likes and the subscribes and for the comments. And again, apologies for my very shoddy camera work on this segment of the video. It's purely because my tripod broke the other way because you know, it was a cheap and cheerful bloody thing. But there we go. I'll crack on. I'll get this sorted out, and then I think it's onwards to start sorting out this bottom section before I do anything else. And there we are, everyone. The saga continues. Everybody take care. Hope you have a fantastic week, fantastic weekend. Be safe, and I'll see you on the next update. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.